Hello and welcome to the Colorless and Land portion of the Final Fantasy Limited Set Review. In this video I'll be talking about all of those varieties of cards and how good I think they're going to be in the upcoming limited environment. If you have not been to one of the set reviews before, I use a 5-tiered system to evaluate cards, to facilitate discussion about cards, and generally the 5 tiers are based around where I would expect to pick the cards on average in a draft, tier 1 being the best, tier 5 being the worst. There's a little explanation on the screen. Feel free to take a look at that. And we're just going to get started with Summon Bahamut. Oh, also, can't pronounce any of the names because I've never played Final Fantasy, so there's that. Also, be advised, don't get mad at me, please. Spare me. 9 mana for a 9/9 with flying. It's a saga creature. Chapter 1 and 2, destroy up to one target non-land permanent. Chapter 3, draw 2 cards. And Chapter 4, this creature deals damage equal to the total mana value of other permanents you control to each opponent. So obviously this is completely busted if you cast it. It's just 9 mana. It's really good. I mean, you could put it in tier 1 if you want. The one thing about it is that there are decks where you just wouldn't pick this, right? Like, you could, if you're drafting like an aggressive red-white deck, you're never picking this, and that's why I'm kind of like, should I put this in tier 1? But I guess you could think about it like, well, it's a colorless card, and so does it warrant the amount of hate that I'm giving it for not going in every deck despite being colorless when it would go in most decks, and you would probably just build your deck around it to try to make it work. It is a 9/9 flyer. I I think, because it is hard, right? Because you do want to punish something for costing 9 mana. 9 is a lot of mana. It's an attainable amount of mana in this format. There's treasures, there's some ramp, blue green's doing ramp. But it's like, is this better or worse than Sire of the Seven Depths from Foundation? Sire of the Seven Depths would have been a tier 1 card, and I'd rate it as a tier 1 card, I believe. 9 is a lot more than 7 mana. This card does have immediate board impact, unlike the Sire that one had board 7. I'll just bump it up to tier 1 just to feel better about myself, even though this hot take could end up being right. We'll see. So I have bumped it up to tier 1. And maybe that's kind of a coward's rating for a 9-drop. Should you ever have a 9-drop this high? There are questions about that. I don't know. This thing seems like it's pretty unbeatable when you cast it. So, yeah. Ultima Origin of Oblivion. 5 colorless for a 4/4 flyer. When it attacks, put a blight counter on target land for as long as that land has blight counter on it. It loses all land types and abilities and has tapped add colorless. When you tap a land for colorless, add an additional colorless. So notably, a lot of these triggers these days are ETB or attack. This one is only on attacks. Really, this card is being evaluated mostly as a 5 mana 4/4 flyer that's colorless, which is pretty good, but like you wouldn't really, like, I don't think you would want to take it that high. So if you don't want to take it that high, do you like? I don't know. It keeps you open. So in theory, you could be like, well, I could put this in any deck, and it's like, well, but like, how excited are you about it in any deck? And it's like, I'm not that excited. So I'm leaving it in tier 3. I think it's a fine card. But just like, how good is worse? Like, not quite as good Sarah Angel. It's like, not that excited about it. Sarah Angel was a pleasant surprise being a tier 3 card in Foundations by the end of the format. I rated it in tier 3 out of respect for its history, but it actually ended up performing quite well. This card I think is largely worse than Sarah Angel, and it's colorless, so people are gonna maybe that's actually a boon for it. Goes in some red decks that wouldn't otherwise get it, or some black decks. I'm kind of meh on this. Adventurer's Airship, 3 colorless for a 3/2. Oh, I forgot I was going to think about changing this. We'll talk it through here. It has flying. It's a vehicle. When it attacks, draw a card, then discard a card, and it has crew 2. So this is a rebalanced and fixed Smuggler's Copter, right? So let's count the ways in which it is worse than Smuggler's Copter. Well, it costs 1 more mana, has 1 less toughness. The crew cost is 1 more, and it doesn't work on blocks. So that's a lot. That's like 4 ways that it's worse. And I think that's enough to make it quite bad or quite mediocre because the rate on a 3-mana 3/2 flyer is just so much worse than a 2-mana 3/3 flyer as a vehicle. You are getting the looting ability, but you're committing a crew 2, which is actually a significantly more than a crew 1 cost. And I just don't really know what deck this is going in. Like, what deck are you really excited about this in? Maybe like a blue-black, a blue-white type deck, something like that. I don't know. I just feel like there's got to be better things to do with than have this in your deck. Aetir and Prewin, I don't know. 6 colorless for an equipment. Equipped creature has base power and toughness X, where X is your life total. Equip for 5. So you have to pay 11 total mana to equip something. And that's too much, basically, is what I'm saying with this rating. It's just too much. There's no protection, there's no nothing, uh it just is big. That tends not to be very good. While you're spending 11 mana to do this, your opponent is lowering your life total. So yeah, this is really bad. This is just too slow for limited. Um, yeah, I don't have a whole lot to say about this. It doesn't really like if you're gonna put equipment in your deck that is not a creature, unlike the job select equipment. There's just way better things you could do with the slot than play this. Blitzball. 3 colorless for an artifact. Tap to add 1 mana of any color, and you can tap it to sacrifice it and draw 2 cards. Only activate this if an opponent was dealt combat damage by a legendary creature this turn. So this continues the trend with manoliths that they've printed in the last like 6 months or so, where they're kind of interesting and actually tend to have a role in the format. I think this will probably follow that trend, although I think it is worse than the last couple we've seen. The reason I think it is worse, despite the fact that there are a lot of legends in the set, is that you're just not always going to be able to connect with a legend on the turn you want to draw 2 cards. Despite the fact that there are a lot of legends, there are not so many that this is just going to be trivially easy to have on. And when you can't do it, it like a lot of times when you want to cash out your manolith, you want to do it on a turn when you're trying to find something to get through. When you can already get through with your legendary creature, is cashing out your manolith even like that good anymore? Like, does it matter that much? Is it going to be something you want to do? And I think the answer is largely no. But I think this will probably have a spot, especially if you do have like some flyers that are legends, which there are some. I think this is fine, but I'm not super excited about it. Buster Sword. 3 colorless for an equipment. Equipped creature gets +3/+2. Whenever a equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Then you may cast a spell from your hand with mana value less than or equal to that damage without paying its mana cost, and equip for 2. So this is an expensive equipment. It's 5 total mana to get going, and you have to connect to do the thing. But when you do, you're probably going to get your value back. You're going to be able to cast a spell without paying its mana cost for at least 4 damage, and that's going to be pretty good. There are other ways to use equipment in the set. I do think this will be a pretty good card. It does suffer from all the normal things that equipment suffers from, but I mean, your opponent is basically on the clock once this thing gets into play. They just have to deal with every single one of your creatures or be able to block it, or this is going to start running away with the game. So it's not quite as good as Anduril from Lord of the Rings. It's not that. Anduril was way better than this and one of the best equipment we've ever seen in Limited. This is not that, but I do think it's going to be pretty good. Elixir. 1 colorless for an artifact that enters the battlefield tapped. You can pay 5 and tap it to exile this artifact. Shuffle all non-land cards from your graveyard into your library. You gain life equal to the number of cards shuffled into your library this way. So obviously not a card that you need to ever put in your deck, but there will be people that put it in their deck and succeed with it as a result. Like, despite this, you're going down a card to have this effect. You better be up a bunch of cards. There are actually a number of ways to be up a bunch of cards in this set, so this is a thing you can do. This is genuinely a real thing that I think is actually kind of okay, but you really are stretching. Most of the time, even the people who put these cards in their deck and succeed with them, like the person mentioned on the screen here, Sam Black, a lot of times he could just win the game without decking him, like without going through his deck. If he, you know what I mean? Like a lot of times you can just find ways to win the game without needing to do this. So it is really for those edge case scenarios, and it is pretty rare that even for those players that like to do this sort of thing, that this is even good or necessary. But it is a thing that people like to do, and it is actually doable. It's gaining you the life, gains you 6 or 7 life. That's quite a bit, and you are going to make your draws better. So best of luck to those of you putting this card in your deck. Excalibur 2. One colorless for an equipment. Whenever you gain life, put a charge counter on Excalibur 2. Equip creature gets +1/+1 for each charge counter on Excalibur 2, and they equip for 3. So, if there were gain lands in this set, I would be pretty high on this card. There are not gain lands in this set, and so I think this card kind of sucks. Yes, there are ways to gain life. There are a number of them, especially in white. Couple in black, couple in green. Sort of your normal amount. How big does this have to be before it's good? I would say it has to get to +2/+2 at least for it to be okay, and +3/+3 for it to be really good, and you're down a card the whole time that it isn't. So I'm not really a fan of this. I think tier 5 is probably too harsh and it should actually be tier 4. Because I think there is a deck for this. It just needs a lot of help. Like, you just need to be gaining life pretty significantly, and part of the thing is you need to be gaining life and care that your creature getting equipped with this gets bigger. And it's 3 to equip. I don't know. I'm not super excited about this. I don't really believe in it. I think there's a deck. I think I'm gonna get beaten by this at some point over the course of this format. I just don't think it's gonna be week 1, hopefully, or else I'm gonna have to retire. I'm gonna have to go into a long, deep retirement and never return. I'm not moving it up. I'm gonna be a hater forever. It does stone nothing by itself. Genji Glove, 5 colorless for an equipment. Equipped creature has double strike. Whenever equipped creature attacks, if it's the first combat phase of the turn, untap it. After this phase, there's an additional combat phase. I could put this in tier 5 too. I don't know. They're all the equipments that are expensive like this are quite bad. Like, what's the difference between this and this? If anything, these should probably be reversed. This should be tier 5, this should be tier 4. I guess I'll just do that. I've done it. It just kind of makes sense. I think there is a deck for this, and for this one, I don't really think there's a deck. You're paying 8 total mana to get this online. 8 mana is way too much mana. Yes, it gives something double strike. Yes, it probably ends the game if you actually get to do the thing. I don't want to pay 5 mana for an artifact that does nothing. It just does. Like, I don't believe in it, man. I just don't believe in these effects. And also, part of it too is like tier 5 is kind of a safe rating because people are going to overdraft this, meaning that its win rate's going to be even lower than it should be, and like if it was drafted correctly. But because it's a rare, even on arena, it's going to get drafted way higher than it should be. So it's probably just going to be terrible. Instant Ramen. 2 colorless for a food artifact with flash. When it enters, you draw a card, and you can pay 2 and tap to sacrifice it and gain 3 life. Yeah, I mean, this is sort of your classic little, trinkety draw artifact. This one doesn't fix your mana, but it does gain you 3 life later on in the game. Not a ton of draw synergies. There's some artifact sack synergies. Some other things you can do with this. It has flash. I mean, I don't think it can be that bad. Tier 3 is probably a little aggressive in terms of how high I'm rating it. I should probably rate it. It should probably be tier 4. And I think I'll move it down to be such. Like, I think if you pick one of these up on the wheel, I don't think you're going to be like, I think you could see playing this, but I don't think you're going to want to actively play it. Iron Giant. 7 colorless mana for a 6/6 with Vigilance, Reach, and Trample. This is just asking to die to any random artifact hate in the set. Yeah, I don't think there's any deck that wants this. So, like, it just is a big thing that just dies. If you're in the market for big thing that dies to red removal spell, a black removal spell, blue bounce spells quite bad for this. Yeah, I mean, if you're in the market for a big thing that maybe beats green decks, this is kind of it. Lionheart, 4 colorless for an equipment. When it enters, it deals 2 damage to any target. Equipped creature gets +2/+1 and equipped for 2. I think this is quite good. Um, the thing about it is, the equip cost is kind of surprisingly reasonable. I'm sort of used to these effects having ridiculous, like sort of being costed the other way around. Like I'm kind of surprised this isn't 3 mana to cast, 3 mana to equip. It's 4 mana to cast, 2 to equip, which I actually think is better, interestingly, than 3 to cast, 3 to equip, because I think a lot of the value in this card is, oh, I can move this thing around after picking something. And it's also a 4 mana like non-creature spell. Like I think this is going to be in most decks in the format. Like I think most decks would play this. It's not the strongest card on rate, right? Like 4 mana deal 2 for like with an equipment is not, it's not like a rate that you're to go home and tell people about. And equipping for 2 for +2/+1 also isn't, but it's like just close to reasonable enough, and it does just enough synergy wise in the set that I actually think this will have a reasonable role. I think this will show up in a decent number of decks. I think this will show up in a decent number of decks. Lunatic Pandora, single colorless for an artifact to pay 2 and tap it to surveil 1, and you can pay 6, tap, and sacrifice it to destroy target non-land permanent. So we've seen these, things before. Usually they tend to be a lot better when they have a way to pay like a couple of mana or 3 mana to buy out and kill something small. When they are just like this and they can only surveil for 2, I'm not super excited about it. Um, you could still play this in theory in like a very, very artifact synergy deck, but I don't think this will be it. I guess it's a legendary permanent for what that's worth. I'm not in on the surveil. If it was just like 1 tap to surveil 1, would I be kind of, would I maybe want to taste? I don't think so. I don't think I would want to taste still. If it was tap to surveil 1, maybe then I want to taste. But I don't know. I'm not super excited. Magic Pot. 3 colorless for a 1/4. When it dies, create a treasure token, and you can pay 2 and tap it to exile target card from a graveyard. I don't know why there's so many like random miscellaneous. I guess there's flashback is the reason why there's so many random miscellaneous things that just like exile stuff from graveyards. I don't know. I don't think that's like it's great. Uh, a 1/4 that dies to make a treasure is pretty bad because they don't die that easily. They just like don't block either. It just kind of does nothing. Like this doesn't do anything. It just kind of sits there. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why. Like, seeing this in the same set as like Lionheart, it's like what's going on? Like we made a card that's like very interesting and like, ooh, there's a lot of interesting places you could put this and stuff you could, and then there's this and it's just like what? Like what does it do? It doesn't do anything. I guess it can attack. It's one of those cards that looks like it has defender but doesn't somehow. So I don't know. I guess it can attack. That's it's got something going for it. The Masmune. 3 colorless for an equipment. As long as a creature is attacking, it has first strike and must be blocked if able. Equipped creature has if a creature dying caused a triggered ability of this creature or an emblem you control to trigger. That ability triggers an additional time, equipped for 2. So the must be blocked if able and first strike combo we've seen a little bit recently, and it's quite good. It is quite good. The problem is you're paying 5 mana for no power and toughness boost, which is really bad. At least you're not paying 8 mana for no power and toughness boost, so I guess there's that. That's an improvement over some cards in the colorless section of this list. You really aren't going to want to play too many equipment in your deck. Like this card, I just don't see it. Notably, the ability triggers even when it has nothing to do with the creature. Like as long as this is to a creature, oh, it's only this creature. Dude, this is I don't. Yeah, I could even just move this down. It's bad, man. This thing is bad. But like in theory, you could actually like put this on like a biggish creature and force your opponent to block it. So I'm leaving it in tier 4 because it's bad, but maybe you could do something. I don't even. I'm grasping at straws. It's got to go down. I gave up on the card. I gave up. I talked myself down. It's I'm not. You know what I mean. We're moving on. Monk's Fist, 2 colorless equipment. Job select. Creature gets +1/+0 and is a monk in addition to the types. Equip 2 colorless. So this is actually I think going to see some play sometimes. It's not great, but it's a 2 drop. It's colorless. It's an equipment. It makes a token. You can equip 2 for +1/+0 is horrendous, but it's actually not the worst rate in the entire set. I think you'll see a couple of copies of these. Like I don't know, like I would be shocked if I didn't play this in a deck at some point in this format. Is kind of my take. I don't think it's going to be great. It's not. It's obviously not great. The rate's too bad, but there's some synergy stuff you can do with it, and I think it's going to show up from time to time. Poo Poo UFO. 2 colorless for an 0/4 with flying. You can tap it to put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. You can pay 3 colorless until end of turn. This creature's base power becomes the number of equal to the number of towns you control. This is definitely on the side of like cards that could be completely degenerate and take over the format and be oppressive, and you're going to be like, "There's no way." The towns deck is completely broken. I would be really the more I look through the set, the more I kind of am like, oh, the towns deck is just so much better than anything else you could be doing that this card is just going to be insane. Now, it is a 2 mana 0/4, but it has flying, which means it can block everything. On turn 3, you start being able to play 2 lands a turn, pretty good. And then if you have 3 towns in play, you can threaten to make this a 3/4 flyer on your opponent's turn. Like they can't ever attack into this. Like you can't if you're the opponent, you can't attack into this. You can if you have like a trick or whatever. But then you can just block and not activate, which is kind of getting you may have over leveled yourself by doing that. Sometimes you level yourself. It does happen. But yeah, I think this is going to be good. It doesn't go in every deck. It's only really for the town deck. But in the town deck, which I think is going to be one of the best decks, this card is going to be good and a great 2-drop in that deck because it stabilizes you and helps you, ramp, and that allows you to get your powerful cards out quickly. Quickly. Also, the land card not tapped when it comes into play. Kind of a surprise. You would think this type of card that ramps you puts the land into play tapped. Not in this house. You can just put untapped lands into play. Don't know what's up with that. The Regalia. 4 colorless for a 4/4 haste vehicle. When it attacks, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a land card. Put that card onto the battlefield tapped, and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. It has crew 1. This is a pretty good vehicle. So 4 mana 4/4 haste would be a good creature. Now it's not a creature, but it has crew 1, and crew 1, as we know, is pretty easy to do. You can pretty easily do it. Even if this trades off, you're pretty happy. You've ramped, you traded with their thing, whatever. Doesn't need to hit them to do anything. Sort of just a very solid, good card. It goes in pretty much every deck. Ramps you. Not much to dislike about it. Relentless X ATM 92. 6 colorless for a 6/5 can't be blocked except by 3 or more creatures, and you can pay 8 mana to return it from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped with a finality counter on it. So this is a lot of value, actually. I mean, you're getting 2 huge creatures for a lot of mana, but you can get 1 out of the graveyard. Tier 3 is probably a bit high. Are you really that excited about 6 mana 6/5 Troll of Khazad-dûm, but you can't land cycle it for 1? Troll of Khazad-dûm was great. It was one of the best cards in Lord of the Rings, although Black had 6 of the 6 best commons, so, But it was one of them, so, like, this card, the 6 mana side of it has proven to be quite good and limited. It's just, how high are you taking this? I should probably move it down to tier 4. But I do think it's kind of reasonable. It's 6-drop. At the end of the day, are you really going to take a 6-drop that high? Probably not. Ring of the Lucci. Yeah, I nailed that one. 4 colorless artifact. Tap, add 2 colorless mana. That's a lot of mana. You can pay 2 and tap it to pay 1 life to tap target non-land permanent. This looks pretty sweet to me. Now again, it's not a perfect card. It's, it's a strictly different freaking whatever it's called. You know the card I'm thinking of. Come on, everybody, come on, yeah, everybody knows. It's why can I not remember the name? Icy Manipulator. It's worse Icy Manipulator. But instead of being but in addition to being worse Icy Manipulator, it also taps for 2 mana. Two's a lot of mana. I'm gonna be honest with you, two's a lot of mana. Getting a 4 mana rock that taps for 2, that's that's pretty good. I mean, there's a lot of big stuff you can do in this set. You can really go big over the top. So I actually think this is going to be quite good. Ramping you from 4 to 6. So yeah, that's my take on it. We will see. We will see. World map. 1 colorless for an artifact. Pay 1 and tap and sacrifice it to search your library for a basic land, reveal it, put it in your hand and shuffle, and you can pay 3 tap and sacrifice it to search your library for a land, reveal it, put it in your hand, and then shuffle. There are actually some lands worth doing that for in the set. We will get to them shortly. But this is just kind of like your typical medium to okay fixing. You can play 1 copy of this and it'll be fine. That's about it. Okay, we're on to the lands portion. This land represents the cycle of towns that enter tapped and tap to add for 2 colors. These are all pretty good. They're good fixing. They're not super, super high picks yet. They may end up being super, super high picks if the town deck is as good as I think it is. Even as optimistic as I am about the town deck, you really only want the ones that help you actually cast your spells. So taking them like pack 1, pick 1 is not usually super advisable. They're fine. They're good fixing. You'll take them. You'll play them. This one is Adventurer's Inn. It is a town that gains 2 life when it enters and taps for colorless mana. Colorless lands usually have to be worth more than this. I could see a world where the town deck is so good that you actually play this. There is a world where that's true. If we are living in that world, then you would take this as a tier 4 card. But I can't really imagine living in that world yet. I'll have to see it to believe it. But I could believe that we could be living in such a world. Though a colorless land is a very, very high cost. I'm going to see a lot of these cards from my opponents, and I am very, very unlikely to play it. Now this is a town. Balamgarden Seed Academy. It is a town that enters tapped and taps for blue or green. You can pay 5 blue-green to transform it, and it costs 1 less for each other town to transform it. It transforms into a 5/4 flying vehicle that whenever it attacks, you draw a card and it has crew 1. This is a beast. This town is an absolute beating because it is a land that is also a win condition. This is just a creature land by any other name. You know what I mean? It's a better than a creature land. The creature it turns into is a thing that draws you a bunch of cards. I don't know. You don't even have to activate the ability as a sorcery. You can just do this on you can just wait, hold up a bunch of mana. If your opponent does nothing, just flip your town into a flyer that draws you a card. Like that. I mean, that's crazy. The fact that you don't have to do this as a sorcery is actually kind of huge. On turn, I could see that like on turn 6, you just pass, flip this thing. Like you're going to town, man. You're just going to town. You're drawing cards. You're hitting for 5. Like I mean, this is just an absolute beating. I thought about even putting this in tier 1. This is just such a good card. Capital City. It is a town that taps for colorless mana, and you can pay 1 and tap it to add 1 mana of any color, and you can cycle it for 2 colorless mana. It's worse than your usual one of these. We've had the Grotto Gaming Commission cards that surveil 1 and do this instead of cycling. I would say that surveil 1 is probably a better upside than cycling, especially given that you actually want to have these lands in play for all your town abilities. But this is, I think, reasonable buyout, and I think you're going to be reasonably happy to pick this and play it. Clive's Hideaway. It's a town with Hideaway 4. You can tap it to add colorless mana, or you can pay 2 and tap it to play the exiled card from the hideaway without paying its mana cost if you control 4 or more legendary creatures. Not easy, but not impossible to have 4 or more legendary creatures. Is it worth putting a colorless land in your deck? I personally would say no. I hate colorless lands. There will be some people who say yes. That's up to them. It's a town. Can it really be that bad? I don't know how this is a town, by the way. Looking at the art, I don't know. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Crossroads Village. The best of the towns. It is a town that enters tapped. As it enters, choose a color. Add 1 mana of any color. Classic. They've done this, Uncharted Haven variant for the last 3 years, basically. It's been good every time. When it has a type associated with it, it's really, really good. This one is going to be really, really good. Hot take: are we saying best common in the format? It's possible that I'm that high on the towns deck that this is the best common in the format. I don't know. We're not. I don't think I'm there yet, but it's certainly a take I could see myself having at some point. Town. We believe in the towns. I'm a disciple of the town deck. I'm a believer in it. Eden, Seat of the Sanctum. It is a town that taps to add for colorless mana. You can pay 5 and tap it to mill 2 cards. Then you may sacrifice this land. When you do, return another target permanent from your graveyard to your hand. So this is a colorless land that I can get down with. I can be excited about a colorless land of this variety because it does eventually give you some recursion. Now, it does sacrifice itself, which is probably fine by the time you're doing it. You don't need that many towns in play all the time. I think if I were going to put a colorless town into my deck, this is the first one I would put in my deck, I think. Because it's at least getting you some value. It always can do something in the late game. And I think it does probably make up for the cost of playing one colorless land if you are playing a 2-color deck. If you're not playing a 2-color deck, if you're playing a multicolor deck, I probably would never put this in my deck. The Gold Saucer. It is a town that taps to add for colorless mana. You can pay 2 and tap it to flip a coin. If you win the flip, create a treasure token. You can pay 3 and tap and sacrifice 2 artifacts to draw a card. There are actually real applications for this. There are ways to make enough artifacts that this can do something. I believe that this will do something, but again, this and this, you kind of you gotta really mean it. Your mana base has to be really good. If your mana base is really good, I do think I would play this. This one allows you to flip coins with the blue legendary guy. That means you always win flips. So that's the synergy. That's what you're looking for. Alright, on to a cycle of adventure towns that are rares. The white one, all of them enter tapped and add a color of whatever they're representing. The white one has an adventure for 3 white. It returns up to 2 target artifact and or enchantment cards from your graveyard to your hand. That's a nice adventure. It's also a town. It is a good value land. I like this quite a bit. It only hits artifact or enchantment cards, but I think there's going to be enough of those in your deck that this is fine. It is a tap land that it just is, is fine. It's fine by itself and town synergies. The blue one has the adventure 4 blue to mill an opponent for half their library rounded down. That is very bad and not worth a tap land and being in your deck at all. So I would probably not even play this unless I was super, super into the town thing. The red one has an adventure for 2 and a red that is an instant this time instead of being a sorcery like the previous 2. That creates an 0/1 wizard creature token. I kind of like this one a little bit more. Being able to trigger all your wizard stuff and also make a wizard on your land is pretty valuable. Like, it's a land that also makes a creature and can, you can go like turn 4, make a thing, then play the tap land. That's something. You did something. Was it good? Was the thing that you did good? Not really. Was it something? Yeah, it was something. Midgar, City of Mako. So it's the black one, the black tap land. It has a sorcery for 2 and a black. You may sacrifice an artifact or creature. If you do, draw 2 cards, and this land enters tapped on the other side. I like this one the most, I think. It's pretty easy to find an artifact or creature that you're interested in sacrificing, and this just turns it into 2 cards. This, I think, is the best one. I think most of them are pretty good. I think, do I have the green one next? I do have the green one next. The green one has a sorcery for 4 green green that creates a 1/1 colorless hero token and put a +1/+1 counter out for each land you control, which is going to be probably at least 6 lands. That's pretty good. I like most of these. Most of the town lands that have our value lands are pretty good. The blue one is terrible, but the rest of them are pretty good. I think my power rankings are black, green, white, red, blue. That would be my power rankings. Or maybe it's blue or red and then white and then blue. Blue is definitely the worst. Red and white are kind of comparable, and green and black are definitely the two best ones. I don't. Yeah, they're all decent. And the final card in the set review is Starting Town, because irony, I don't know. That was the goal. It is a town that enters tapped unless it is the first, second, or third turn of the game. Which it's your first. I was gonna say, is it the first? No, it's your first. So that actually changes things a little bit. You can tap it to add colorless mana, and you can pay 1 life and tap it to add 1 mana of any color. So we have a City of Brass town, which is pretty good. It's a good thing to have access to in your towns deck, but it's, City of Brass is pretty bad in your just 2-color deck. So that's why it's tier 3. Like, you really want to be getting value from the fact that you're fixing like more than 2 colors of mana with your thing. And it's like sometimes a tap land, but sometimes it's not. And that's it. That's it for the colorless and land portion of the set review. Thank you for joining me for this portion of the set review. There are other portions of the set review for you to check out. Please go do so if you would like, and I'll see you next time.